Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It's a science place. It is a scientific fact that we're all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. Tonight, we go deep. The Deep Tunnel Project, that is. Not the actual Deep Tunnel Project, but the band, which is one of the rare times I'm actually excited to talk about a band, about their band name, because I actually do think it's interesting. And it's going to be great to have these returning guests back. All three of these fellas in different configurations at different times. Three great musicians. And talking about this awesome record. So excited to be back. Excited to be talking to these fellas. And yeah. So before we do that, and yeah, exactly. Can you tell this show's been going on for over 10 years? It's amazing. Welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who's been touring and recording for 24 years. Most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 391. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at protonicreversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/protonicreversal will achieve that goal and help support the show as well. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around on the internet, or even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show, beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords, and it's a darn nice thing to do. So I was going to do the thing where I wear the shirt of the band that I have on, but I couldn't find it because it was in the laundry. So we do regret the error. And again, for audio listeners, you don't care. You don't have to look at what I look like anyway. But I do like these guys quite a bit, and they have an awesome record, and I'm glad to finally get them on to talk about it. So let's talk right now to John, Mike, and Tim, Deep Tunnel Project. Welcome, fellas.
Hello.
Cheers.
Hello there.
You've all been on this show, but not as this band.
Right.
So that's very exciting. I think that you're all overdue as well for being on again. John, how did this come to pass? I'm under the impression that you kind of ringled? Yeah, we were the ringleader for the titular Deep Tunnel Project of the Deep Tunnel Project self-titled record. Can you tell me I just woke up from a nap? Jesus Christ. Sorry.
Are you high? It's okay. You're just asking for a friend.
Yeah. Do you have any extra? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, pre-pandemic, wanted to start performing more, playing and writing. And I had and there was occasional TAR reunions.
Right.
Which was fun, but like the first order of business was let's not sound like a TAR cover band. And then it was, let's do these songs justice. And then it was, why do we write such fucking difficult songs? And then sort of the reality of, we've got a TAR bandmate on the West Coast and a TAR bandmate in Central Illinois, and 4 different lives. And so it's time to see if we could do something new. Maybe that was an idea before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and Mike and I and the other TAR folks fired up the reissue machine and did the TAR box set, and then that was fun-ish, but it's not the same as writing songs. And then one day, Mike and I think had been talking about playing, or no, it was summer of 19, right? Did we play with Mark and Tony? Did we try that?
Something like that. 2020 sounds more like it.
Okay.
Could have been 2019. I don't know.
Yeah, 20.
Well, I can tell you that the last time that I had, almost all of TAR on the show was December 2021 to speak about the reissues and the box sets.
This
which
was
lovely.
before that, yeah.
So this is before that,
Yeah,
then you can trace it back from there.
Yeah. And so Jeff, who had contacted me out of the blue, and I had kind of known of him. And so we traded some records, and I said, hey, I said, Mike and I are trying to figure something out. You want to get together? And he was game. And then, 3-ish months later, maybe, and I contacted Tim, and I've known Tim mid-90s, early 90s, somewhere in there. And we've known each other, I think, socially as friends, not sort of in a, are you thinking what I'm thinking musically kind of way. And I just wrote him and said, hey, what do you think about playing some bass? Thinking, well, the worst he'll say is no, which is the same as not asking him.
Right.
And
I think the worst is no reaction, personally. If you just don't get a response back, that's worse than no.
Well,
I'll take a no.
I can think of a lot of worse things, actually.
How dare you say that to me would be one.
Well, worse is laughing.
Yeah.
And then it would be, oh, yeah.
Sure, that sounds neat. Yeah.
We should do that.
Tim, so what's your relationship with Mike and John beforehand? Was this something Silkworm and TAR sort of operating around at the same time, right? I'm assuming.
Well, it's funny with a lot of bands that were contemporaries, like of Silkworm, because we toured a lot. TAR toured quite a bit, and that's how you say it in Montana. Tour. It's not tour. It's tour.
Toured a bit.
Yeah. So then it becomes toured, which is unfortunately sometimes actually it's toured. But anyway, so those guys toured a lot, and we toured a lot, and then you don't really get to know these bands because you're out doing this and they're out doing this, and like maybe you intersect. So like I wouldn't say we knew each other that well. Like we definitely were friendly from seeing each other probably at electrical and stuff. But it's like I remember I never really saw like Conan or Conan back in the day, for example. And I've known Brokaw for years. Yeah. But we just never quite crossed paths or whatever. So I definitely had seen TAR, a couple times back in the day. Always thought it was cool and saw the reunion stuff and always liked it. Unique sounding band, awesome sound, different sound, stuck out. So when they were like, do you want to play bass? Number one, I love playing bass. But number two, and I don't do it in my band.
Yeah.
Because expediency mostly is the only reason. I love playing bass. It's my thing. So when they were asking me if I wanted to do it, I was like, yeah, of course I want to do that. And we just started goofing around with these songs. They already had a bunch of songs, I think, right? 4 or 5?
Yeah, I think there was at least 3 sort of in various stages.
Yeah.
So you started.
When I got in there, it got that's when it really started cooking. Before that, I'd say it was interesting music.
Right.
But it wasn't really
Yeah.
good exactly. It was just kind of like, what am I trying? Embryonic is the word. And then I came in, and it just kind of like was born, came out the canal, and it was beautiful and perfect.
You rub some of that Midyett on it. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of true because it's not like you tried to.
Yeah.
It's not like we had a bass line for you to play anyway. So
So these songs that were kicking around, this was drums and guitar mostly.
Yeah.
I'm just dorking around the whole time.
Well, yeah, there was nothing before Tim joined, really.
So how did musically you mentioned that you didn't think of this as being like a TAR Part 2 kind of situation, like you wanted to again go somewhere different with it. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised because having seen that set in Minneapolis with just contextless, really, other than like knowing who was playing,
Right.
I was like, oh, I didn't really have it on my radar that this is like, a rocked out version of REM almost, like when REM was like a kick-ass rock band, and which was my first impression. But like I would loved it. I guess I just fell victim of I know the pedigree of the people that are here, and I bet it sounds like this because that's usually the case. So it was a pleasant surprise. But was the idea like, hey, we don't have to do that. We've done that band. We can write different kinds of songs. Was it more informed from, John, I know you've been messing around. You've been playing with like Langford and all them.
Yeah.
Just thinking about different kinds of songwriting. Like how did these songs come to pass, I suppose would be the actual question.
same way as before.
The process I think was very same to everything I've ever been involved. Well, Langford stuff is fully formed, but like stuff that I've been in, I mean, there's like an idea or a riff or two riffs, and then everyone gets together and tries to sort it out. And then we'll record it at rehearsal and listen or not, and come back and chip away at it.
Listen or not is doing a lot of work. The listen or not in that sentence, yeah, the or not is the.
Well, yeah, we would record the songs at our rehearsals, and one was like,
yeah,
wow, iPhones sound pretty good, and this is great because we're not going to forget it. Which in the past, I mean, I don't know how many. A lot of things I've been involved with, just if they don't make it practice to practice, I guess they're not that good, right? And so you don't bemoan the loss; you just try to do something new. So it was nice to be like, oh yeah, let's work on that.
How many songs were lost in the years because nobody?
How did that one go? Was that the one where you
never
went,
recorded practices
before? What are you talking about? I never did that. Like, no, it sounded like da 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 da.
But I mean, I think all of us, and Jeff too, like we're like musical omnivores. Like we listen to all kinds of stuff. And
no, not allowed.
Yeah, I mean and so 95 was the last time I was directly involved in like the writing of stuff. And what was that, 25-ish years ago or whatever, 28, I guess. So a lot of different things, have happened. We've listened to, enjoyed, including REM and Slayer and Sun Ra.
Early REM rules, man. Like, I mean, that is a high compliment. I've actually been listening to it a lot lately. I was like, God damn. I missed most of that because, I just wasn't old enough. But, but I've recently, I mean, I don't know if you guys took offense at that. Yeah, I know. Like, whatever. I was too busy not having access to cool music in a dumb town, basically.
You were too busy not being born.
That too. I definitely was aware of, the mandolin era.
Paraphrasing Dylan.
Right, exactly.
Well, I sort of personally, and I'm not sure about others, sort of felt a freedom of like, I'm doing this for the pleasure of doing it, and it's satisfying for me. So if the songs are satisfying to write and play, however they turn out, that's totally fine.
Well, it does seem like there's a genuine enthusiasm behind it, which one would hope would be part of being a band, right? I mean, it's
yeah, there's that. I mean, it's it's a pretty wonderful thing to create
music. It's pretty good.
And collaborate with your friends and musical brethren.
My sense of those songs just coming into it from Fresh was, and I don't know if John did this on purpose, but I felt like there was this kind of sweep to the overall subject matter of the record that I didn't, of course, pick up on right away until, because, it's a typical rock band thing in every rock band's rehearsal space, if they're loud at all. It's like, and then the vocals are like, so, you don't really necessarily get to we used to sing in Silkworm, we sang through guitar amps.
Right.
The whole time. We didn't have monitors until the last 4 years we were a band.
I'm not sure TAR had a vocal PA.
I was gonna say, oh, you had guitar amps? Oh,
no,
you're fancy. You're fancy.
Afterthought. But once I had a chance to hear the lyrics, I'm like, oh, well, number one, the lyrics are great. But number two, it's all there's this theme of hubris and attachment and obsession and kind of construction and trying to carve out something of order out of chaos. And it's all kind of represented though by this overarching, I don't know if John wanted the band to have this overt concept, but this whole thing of the Deep Tunnel Project is a real thing, right, in our area, where it's this massive mammoth infrastructure project that works kind of, but also kind of doesn't work in some key ways and isn't done and may never be finished.
Right, exactly.
And it's kind of like this perfect metaphor for life, Yeah. And what we always try to do, which is to make sense of our world by making streets and by, building a fucking bank or whatever. And really, we're living in utter chaos the entire time. We just start really.
Right. Everyone's just white knuckling their way through it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you want to pretend like there's this route that means something other than the fact that you happen to cut a path through the forest in this one spot. So
yeah,
I thought it was fascinating to me that all those songs had this kind of linkage, and I think it's one of the really cool things about the record. Is that hammering, just took a hammering from Breaking Circuses at the end of it, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's on there because I think it's a little nod in there that's worthwhile nod to make. But the rest of the record is really pretty thematically compact,
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was on purpose or not. I know I've had bands, Silkworm's made records that are like that. And it's kind of a mistake, or
right? It just ends up being that way. Yeah.
Yeah. You give it the shape afterwards, and you're like, oh, I guess I really was thinking about getting drunk all the time.
Yeah. You mentioned that when we did that Firewater one, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I guess these are all songs about drinking. Okay.
Right. But it's cool when it works out, and you can hear the whole record, and you're like, oh, there's a real a sort of a cinematic quality to it. Not to be too pretentious, but it's not just a bunch of songs and you put the poppiest one at the beginning, it has a different kind of sweep to it.
There was a early cartographer record where Ben did 10 songs in the order they were recorded, which was a very Ben Adrian thing to do, but and I appreciated that. But yeah, it definitely seems like there's thought and intent behind it.
I think Kim's sort of nailed it. And we haven't talked a lot amongst us about the lyrics, but there's sort of a metaphor in there about relationships.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
The metaphor of infrastructure to relationships, which have this sense of permanence, but are temporary, however you define that.
Well, we're gonna go through the record song by song, so we can get into that.
Oh, is there a quiz?
A little bit later. There will be a quiz. Yes. Study up.
Can we swear? We can swear, right?
You can swear, yes.
Okay.
If you,
it's not.
You just have to put something in the swear jar every time.
It's not in my lexicon usually, but
you're welcome to.
Yeah,
it's the internet. They allow
rock and roll cred. I think we have to.
Okay, so cool. And again, for the people that are not familiar, the actual Deep Tunnel project is like a public works, civic engineering tunnel system, right? That it's meant to transport water, more or less, right? And
More or less, yeah.
ultimately, you know.
Yeah, I mean, recently there
Keep
was
it out of our basement.
a huge storm in the area, and it filled up.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like,
it's kind of
you got
against
one
the point.
job to
Yeah.
do: be a hole in the ground.
Right, exactly. One would think it would be an easy accomplishment. Yes, absolutely.
So Chicago.
And I will say it took the band for me to sort of like interest myself in finding out about it. But I think it is interesting that, you know, there's, you know, some of the lowest inhabitable points of the city that are involved in this, and you know, this long, I think it's like over 100 miles or something. It's crazy. Like that's, and it's not something anyone thinks about unless you're a civic engineer, in which case you're thinking about it all the time. Probably.
You wear a Deep Tunnel Project shirt, you find out a lot of people know about it.
I
want to talk about it.
I've worn it to the grocery store a lot, and I keep waiting for someone to ask me. But I guess maybe I just look unfriendly when I'm shopping because I don't want to do it. I don't know. So I'll let you. I'll give you the full report if I get some questions about it. And I am coming in informed, so that helps. So let's talk about the guy who isn't here. Let's talk about Jeff. How did he come into the picture?
Yeah,
he wasn't in enough bands yet.
Yeah, he's sort of the John Langford of his generation. I mean, prolific, always at it, working hard. And I'd met him, I think it was before a Jawbox show. Mike, you were there maybe? We went pizza? I don't know. And he was there with his lovely son, just a really cute little guy. And so we just met, and I was like, hey, you're Jeff Dean. I know who you are. He was like, oh, who are you? And so it wasn't surprising a few months later when he was like, hey, that TAR record from 2012, you know where I can buy one? And like, it's like the story of TAR's life, like timing. And I was like, no, I think I got one in the basement. Like,
right.
Check
Discogs yet? Yeah.
So we met, and this was, maybe it was spring of 21. I remember we stood in a parking lot like at some restaurant, so we were outside because of COVID, right? And we just talked, and I was like, hey, Mike and I are trying to figure something out. You want to join us? But Jeff is in a lot of bands, is a prolific engineer and producer. It seems like he does it all. And I mean,
he was in that band with Jeff Pizzotti, right?
Yeah, in the Bomb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a showman too. Like he's a good he's a firecracker of energy. That guy.
It's a shame he isn't here. He would reduce our average age significantly.
It's important. It's important.
I have no idea how old he is. If you told me he's 30, I'd believe you. If you told me he was 40, well, if you told me he's over 42, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
He does kind of have one of those faces that like looks like he's just going to look exactly the same for like forever.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
My dad was the same way until like he hit 67, and then like boom, he looked like an old man overnight.
Immediately looks 67.
It's like it all caught up with him, like a curse had been.
You're talking about Mike Greenlees there. You look at those early or mid Blatant Dissent photos.
Yeah.
Mike looks exactly the same.
You better make sure there's a newspaper in the background, otherwise you'll never know what year the picture is.
That's right.
Back when they had newspapers.
Stop. Go on.
So, Mike, being a drummer and engaging with music with modern technology, and again, we're talking about listening to like practice-based recordings, things along those lines. Does that help inform like your writing process with the drums at all, or is it something where it's just remembering what the hell anybody was doing or trying to figure out what it was?
It's that. It's for me. I don't really settle on a drum part maybe till it's recorded, and then I try to
Maybe
keep doing
until
the
it's recorded.
things. Yeah, keep doing the things I thought worked, and then
Yeah.
I don't really. Some songs I play the same every time. Some I just don't. I don't know. It doesn't really. It's more a great tool for remembering things, but we don't. I don't think we've once sat down and went, "That was really good on the recording. Let's do what we did then." We're just reference points.
Right. It's a starting position. Sure. I get it.
But you get in tune with each other, and you don't. Like there are certain parts on certain songs that Mike and I, in particular, I know will play the same way every single time, and then there'll be little bits where it branches off, and there's just kind of you just get used to it, and everyone knows this is where I'm going to go, noodle around out here a little bit, and you're going to hold it down or whatever, and then we're going to come back together at one spot like we always do, and we never talk about it, but it just happens.
And primarily what I listen to when I'm playing the songs is always the bass guitar.
Yeah,
it's a good thing for a drummer to listen to.
In general, there sometimes like Jeff or Tim can't be at practice. It's usually always John and I, and when there's a few songs when Jeff's not there where we're like, oh, yeah, Jeff's kind of driving this song,
right?
But most of all, it's weirder for me if there's no bass.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. Now, Tim, is that since you're coming in with two players that have been in a band together for like forever?
Yeah.
There is that kind of like telepathy that just like, oh, you guys just are doing a thing, and I know what are you doing? What is this?
Yeah, it's great, and I know what that's like because you had that in the Worm, and Andy Cohen and I have had that for years. When we play together, the two of us, it's just we never talk about anything, ever. And in this band, honestly, it's the same. Well, we do talk about stuff a little bit, but not that much, and it's in the same kind of vague terms, of using some descriptive word that would only mean something to the other people who are in the room with you at that moment. So that's the only way to do it, I think. Personally, I'm not really interested in. I'm not really interested in being in bands where things are prescribed, or it's got to be a certain way every time. Like I like being surprised by myself as much as anybody else.
Right.
Not that I'm so like inventive and changing shit all the time on purpose, but it's nice to have that. But it really isn't that much of a surprise if you're all on the same page. You're all headed in the same direction, and the end result is you can predict it. When you start, it's just the path might be a little bit different. So.
Yeah, this band's much less regimented than the last one John and I were in, I would say. There's a lot. There's songs where we can just play until, like John will sometimes let the song breathe a while in intros or something before and we just kind of know when it's going to change.
Yeah, I was noticing a little bit of that when I saw you that last show with Jay and Alan Epley's band. I was noticing that stuff kind of, for lack of a better term, breathed a little more, even more than the record.
There's some different arrangements now than when we recorded them.
Yeah, a lot of the songs, some of the songs were really quite new. I think South Branch maybe was the first time we actually played it all the way through correctly. Mm-hmm. Does that sound right? Or
have we done that yet?
Yeah, we definitely have.
Well, hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves, John.
Yeah. I'm giving myself too much credit.
Yeah, when I say inventive or whatever, I really just mean, fucking up and then having to recover from it.
Right. Oh, it's jazz. I did the part twice.
Yeah. Just you always repeat your mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like there is, that idea that the record is document, right? It's not, it's songs can continue to live and change and grow beyond being recorded, and that can be a wonderful thing. And then for some bands, it's like it's the same every time, and that seems to work for them too.
Yeah,
I think it was also reflected in the way we made the record. We made it in our practice space. Everything was the way it normally is, and Matt Barnhart, our buddy, is a great recording engineer.
Yeah.
Came in and just recorded it just in situ, We didn't change anything. We didn't move anything. We didn't isolate anything. And then John handed it to Jay Robbins, and Jay mixed it, and that was it. There wasn't like a bunch of John and I recorded vocals in my basement, and that took, I don't know, a night or two.
Yeah, and some acoustic grunge.
A little bit of acoustic grunge. We had to get some of that in there because the whole REM thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. I think
you can't even hear the acoustic, really.
No, not at all.
It's just kind of buried back there.
Jay's like, whoa.
It's like, I don't think so.
It's in there.
Look, it's fine. It's good. It's a what is it? It's a seasoning. Yeah, exactly.
It's like a little pinch of salt in there. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just say he didn't know what he was, or he knew exactly what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. It all worked out.
Yeah. Well, and then there's, I feel like there's probably also some freedom in the fact that, like, this is a new band, it's a new song. Like, what you are doing is what it is, right? There's no legacy to, if we don't play this, then people are going to be bummed out. How do we play that again? There's going to be none of that, like those kinds of pressure elements that exist. I would imagine.
So much less pressure this time.
Yeah, I think the
Speaking
simpler
personally.
song thing, that was a lesson I learned from playing with John Langford, which is not that his songs are simple, but they're straightforward, right? They're easier to learn or to perform. And they're easier to consume as well,
Right. Yeah, you don't need an engineering degree to understand it.
And it's not, I don't know, it's not to slight that approach at all, but we're, with the exception of young Jeff, we're past hitting our stride. No offense to anyone here.
Well, no, but it's fine because there's still vitality to it, right? Like, it's still like look at. I'm not going to bother looking it up. How old are the guys in Crazy Horse? Those guys have done like all kinds of stuff in the
70s.
Yeah, exactly.
Billy Talbot's in his 80s.
Is he?
I think so. Early 80s.
For real?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Sure.
Dang. Okay. Right on. So, and then it's something that seems to come up on this show more and more these days is that punk rockers are getting old now, which happens, and the idea of it being like youth only music is obviously a logical fallacy that barely even warrants a mention, other than the fact that it's hard to describe to people who aren't in it like what you're doing when it's I think what is it what's the Martha's Vineyard Fairy sings greens fees that it's like someone golfs. Then they pay the greens fees. So it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're paying the greens fees.
I think what's interesting about it to me is that it's not a hobby like golf. It's not it's an avocation, right? It's like you do something for a job to make money. This isn't it. But this is something you do with a real intent behind it and a real purpose attached to it. And in the merch sense, I think there's undeniable. This is a young person's game. It's young. We're not making music for young people, and we're not young, but so it's a flexible art form. But in general, when it comes to clubs or big shows or whatever, they're generally going to be driven by youth. The people who show up and stuff like that. So. You just have to accept that as you get older, that you're not at the whatever the focal point of the underground in our case is. It's not. It may or may not be something you're directly involved with. Fortunately, we're all used to that because we're all in the underground. We've all been in the underground rock music scene our entire lives. So what I mean? It's like, this or that band, and you can't get on that show or whatever. Like, who cares? It's not really that.
Well, because it's more than a hobby, but less than a job. So there's something that you can get out of it that other people can hopefully get out of it, and you treat it seriously. But it's not like it's life or death if you don't do a 9-month tour or something.
And also, I think it's probably was like this for these guys, but there was also I mean, DeKalb, I don't know, maybe there wasn't a scene of getting creative for it. But then, you're right by Chicago and stuff, so there's a connection there. And for me, growing up in Western Montana, it was like, fuck everybody else, The only people we cared about were the people in the band, really, And that's, for better or worse, that's the guiding ethos of my whole thing. It's like,
Right.
I don't care about anyone, and in this band, I don't care about anybody but the other three guys in the band, We just you want it to be what you want it to be, and if it feels good for you, then great, you're done. You won,
That is success. The
totally.
journey itself is the destination. Yeah.
And that's a huge thing, is like being like, it's just astonishing to me that people are in bands with people for years that they don't like, or they don't get along. Like,
right.
Why?
Bring up the remote.
Do you know how many musicians there are in the world? You got to play with the guy you don't like.
Yeah.
Like
the guy that really gets on your nuts every time.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's preposterous. So that's like my favorite thing about this band is I like going to hang out with these guys on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
Well, and you hit on something kind of important too, because I feel like popular culture romanticizes discord, right? Just as in the same way that, okay, it's instead of perspiration.
On the porch, is that romanticizing that Discord record, or the antagonism and whatever?
Yeah, actual antagonism.
Oh,
An antagonistic creative relationship is supposed to be the
I think what Mike
ideal.
meant to say is that people are the worst.
Yeah. No, but it's I've talked about that a lot over the years too. That there really just isn't a lot of examples within popular culture, or whatever is left of this balkanized monoculture we have, of just doing a band for the sake of doing a band. I'm making a band because I want to make music with my friends and do like, there just isn't, well, what, you're not going to become famous. No, but that's not the goal. The goal isn't to become famous. The goal is to make good music, and like that in and of itself can be a fulfillment. And I don't know whether to blame the Cameron Crowe movie Almost Famous or what, but like it just seems like there's just no examples of that. Whereas look at comedy, stand-up comedy. It's fine to be like a working stand-up, right? That's okay. That's been quote unquote normalized. Like these other aspects of art have all been, and there just isn't that in the world at large, which is still befuddling to me of all the things that we have.
I think other musicians get it intrinsically at almost every level. And I don't think people who have never rocked in their lives are ever really going to get it. And it's really kind of that simple. Like people my age who don't play or whatever, they're befuddled by it. Why would you drive to Minneapolis and back just to play this festival?
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Why would you do that?
Why you had to what? How long was the drive? And you had to haul all your shit there?
Yeah, that's not.
But didn't they have stuff you could? Well, it's not my stuff, so I'm not going to play through it. But I actually did play through Art Builder's Space Lab.
That's right.
Think about it, but you know what I mean. If you rock, if you can rock, and you know what it's like.
Yeah.
You know that you're willing to make a lot of sacrifices in your life to be able to keep doing it. And if you don't, it just doesn't make sense. And your exposure to pop music, and it probably is pop music, it's just like stuff is popular or whatever. It's an apples and oranges kind of deal, I think, kind of.
And there's that elevation that happens that you really can't explain to anyone who hasn't played music, that when it's all going great and doing what it's supposed to be doing, there is nothing like it. Nothing like it.
You don't feel anything, and it just happens. And next thing you know, the show's over, and you can barely remember what happened.
Right. I think that was a good one. I don't know. Yeah, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And
you see footage like that looks like me. That looks like me playing. Okay.
It had to have been good, or you never would have gotten there. So.
Whereas anytime something breaks or something, I remember that one. Oh yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was that one. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or so I hear. Anyway.
I mean, I totally am there, and the only reason to do, and I don't want to keep harping on at our age, but if you're 25 and you want to be a Backstreet Boy or Pearl Jam or whatever, go ahead. fine. But like we don't have to do that. I think we're inclined. So we just, I think, want to write music that interests us and play shows that sound fun, which, feels a lot like the band I was in at 19,
Right.
Same rationale.
Not much has changed, really.
Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting to see how history remembers stuff, too. Like, we started watching, look, I'm not trying to give them a plug, but we have Paramount Plus. I was like, well, shoot, if we have this, I want to, like, use it. Like, there must be something in here to watch. I've watched 2 parts of this Lollapalooza, this 3-part, like, documentary. Which isn't it's pretty good. It's interesting, but it's so funny like how much I haven't thought about any of that for like a very long time. And then when I have thought about it, it's been more like, oh, these are all these corporate things that learned all the wrong lessons as corporations do from these things and like made their own just horrifically bad. Whereas it started at least with, not altruism exactly, but a support of, genuine weirder music at a larger level, and then it immediately becomes sublimated as the second it hits like mass culture into something entirely different, but not entirely bad either. It's just like, oh, there was a lot of people like registering to vote and things like along those lines. Like, yeah, so we could get Clinton, great, but
it was not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like all that. Like, oh, look at all this energy. It's like, yeah, and then they elected Clinton.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, let's not look at the results, but just the idea that it's easy to kind of get lost in certain aspects of culture that only certain things get focused on, right? And you lose sight of no, this is like all bands that were kind of just doing their own thing. Did I like all of them? No, I did not. It doesn't matter though. But they were all like coming together with like a common cause to do this stuff, and there's something to be said for that. And then whatever. I haven't seen the 3rd part. I assume that's when it gets really corporate because that's what happened in real life. And I don't really have any special affinity for Lollapalooza at all. I just literally want to justify having this Paramount Plus subscription besides Star Trek. But yeah, it's okay if you're into that kind of thing. It's worth watching. Thank you, Paramount Plus, the new sponsor of Protonic Reversal. No, there's.
I will say, both to get this off my chest and bring you back to the topic, I'm really pleased and proud of this record and what we've created. I mean, and it might be the distance between other stuff I've been involved with, but I feel like I'm as happy and proud of this as anything I've ever done. Which feels both weird and a little sort of like, well, then what's with the break more? But whatever.
Why weren't you doing this the whole time? Yeah. But you're doing it now. That's what counts, right?
Yeah, right. I'm not gonna kick myself anymore, but like I'm really proud of.
Well, you have to, John. You have to ration out the ears. The ears don't last forever.
Yeah.
So you want to time it just right so they take a dump, like right as you're developing arthritis and you can't play anymore. Then your ears go bad, and then you're like, okay, I timed it out.
Now it's over, Johnny.
I timed it all out just right. Yeah. And I got just the right amount out of it. Now they're just going to ring like a motherfucker until I die.
Tell me about the album art before we go through a song by song on the record, because it's a pretty arresting, by the way, very eye-catching image.
This is for the Crumb Elbow Stew Bone to answer.
Nice. That's me. I took this picture when I was on jury duty.
Fantastic.
And and that is something that any Chicagoan will know. If you if you're in the if you get called to the Daily Center in Chicago for jury duty, this is what's right in front of the Daily Center. Is that Picasso?
That's where they got that Picasso.
That's where they got that Picasso. But everybody likes the front of it. And I did take a couple of pictures of the front, but I walked around to the back because I thought I never looked at this thing from behind. So I went around to the back, and there was almost nobody on the street. It was before. Mm-hmm. It was maybe 20 minutes before I was supposed to be there. So I just took a couple of pictures on my iPhone.
Were you selected?
I'm sorry?
Were you selected for the jury?
Yeah, I was.
Is it an ongoing case?
Of course I was. What's that?
It's an ongoing case. Can you speak on it?
Oh no, it was
Just
one day.
you getting your $17 a day?
It was like a day and a half. Yeah, whatever it was, I can't remember. Peanuts.
I've always kind of wanted to serve on a jury, and then when I've been called, I've always been dismissed in the first round, and I don't understand why. I was like, okay.
But I like it. It's kind of like the. It's sort of. Wasn't thinking this at the time, but picking this for the album cover, I was definitely thinking of infrastructure and what's behind what people see.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like,
plus, it looks really nice offset against that building it's across from.
Yeah, and it's
got the grid. I mean, forget about
it. Compositionally, it's a cool looking picture. Even if you have no frame of reference, if you don't live in Chicago and you've never been called for jury duty, it's just a cool looking picture. You know?
Yeah, and I shot it square, like almost. This is almost full frame, so
that's awesome.
I don't want to brag about it, but
I was in Montana last month, and I was trying to collect in my thoughts like what it was about my hometown of Missoula that resonates with me compared to being in cities, and I just realized like there's mountains all over the place, right? It's surrounded by mountains, right. So those are things you can't build. They're there. They've been there forever. The whole thing used to be a lake, you know. So you're kind of like you're intimately in touch with the fact that you are not the center of this thing, and you're going to be gone, and the town's going to be gone at some point, and it's still going to be there.
Right.
That valley is still going to be there. And the thing about cities is the opposite, right? And this ties into a little hubris thing of the Deep Tunnel Project, that we carved this out of the land and we created the city in Chicago almost more than any other city is like that. It's built on marshland, you know. They had to manufacture the terra firma underneath the city had to be created, you know. So the whole thing, to me, you've got these buildings, and then the art. The fact that it's the ass end of the art, of the sculpture, I think, is perfect. You know,
literally.
The focus is
literally.
Yeah, it's literally the ass of it, and it does look like an ass, and it is an ass. But I'm sure Picasso was alive today. He would back me up on that. But
he would back that ass up. Yes.
Yeah, he would back that ass up. But it's like that thing is looking at that building almost, you know, and saying, "I'm the art form," but then there's this other whole deal that people have erected here to like try to carve something out of this space, you know, and you can see that space is crammed with buildings all around there.
Yeah, and that building across the street, if you get your license renewed downtown, that's where you go, in the basement of that building across the street.
That's true.
So
we've done it.
This is it's federal or state territory there.
Would someone pick that up?
Yeah, that's my son.
Yeah, put him on. Wait,
see what he's up to.
He might need a release.
No, I'll please.
There's it's a sidebar. I'm on these political shows sometimes, and do you guys know who Norm Finkelstein is? Do you know who that guy is? I was on with him for one of these. He has a phone that's ringing almost all the time, and I'm like, "Who's calling this man?" That like this is a guy that's like on these shows and podcasts and stuff all the time. Like, turn the ringer off? I don't know. Like, but he has like a landline. It's just like ringing the entire time. I don't know. It gets a lot of phone calls. Anyway, that's about Norm Finkelstein, everybody. Let's go through the songs on the record. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through song by song on it. Everyone kind of take a turn going first. And feel free to talk about anything you like. You talk about your specific parts, recording process, John, lyrics, if that interests you, where the title came from. And there's no wrong answer. It's just giving a little context on the record for the listeners. So let's just go in the order of these boxes. And Tim, you can go ahead and go first for Connector.
Oh, okay. I think this is the first song we ever played as a group. I'm almost positive it was. And I don't remember. The weird thing is I don't remember ever having to get used to any of it. Like, I just felt like, oh, okay, I can do this. This is it's already in my hands, you know. And there is a sort of common language in our part of the American rock underground, I think, where there are certain, and they're not overt references, but it's almost like you grew up listening to something, and this is like your version of the blues or folk music over here,
Right,
you know?
right.
And that's what I felt like it was right away. It just like, you know, you just do it and it comes out. And I don't think I've changed the part for that song a bit since I started playing it, really.
That just reminds me, take it this what you will, but another one of my first thoughts about hearing Deep Tunnel Project is like, oh, this band sounds like it could be on Homestead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just had like that vibe of except for something that I could see.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sorry, what's the Homestead connection is because of what?
Just it sounded like Deep Tunnel Project could have been a Homestead band.
Sure.
You know, in a good way. Again, come from someone that wasn't there, right? Like I don't know if that maybe that's totally off base, but yeah.
It's some kind of roots music that isn't like what you necessarily hear at Old Town, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's Old Town School of Folk Music here. It's but it is roots music. I mean, it's not self-consciously trying to like reinvent anything. It's just coming out, you know. So
absolutely.
And when Mike has that drum beat that really sort of kicks it off, like.
Why don't you talk about that, Mike, or anything else on this song?
The truth of the matter was we weren't fully. It wasn't like tapes rolling start the song. We were just playing when the tape started rolling. So if you listen to the original, what we put up on Bandcamp, there's a bunch of screwing around before it gets to that point. And I don't know if it was on one of you guys maybe suggested to Jay, here's where you ought to start it, or Jay just made that decision, but it was
either way, good call. We use the term
right
dicking
on.
About personally, but it amounts to the same. Dicking about, screwing around, whatever.
I know John wanted Solomon, the label cheese, wanted things to be sort of tidy. And I mean, we had the loose version up on Bandcamp. I mean, so it's there, but you know, and Jay then edited it that way or whatever, and it was like, oh yeah, because we'd heard it so many times, you know,
with the extra stuff.
So,
yeah,
so much better.
Like, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I guess that's how it starts, which is the only place it starts like that.
Well, yeah, and then if you're gonna have a first song, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
you live show up with your slop jar, right? Like after
it's like Grateful Dead Dark Star or something. Yeah, exactly.
Show up ready for business, you know.
If you can cut it out, cut it out. If you cut it out and you don't miss it, definitely don't put it back in.
When in doubt, cut it out is the saying I use.
Yep.
For that.
Yeah.
For that kind of thing.
Good editing advice.
Mike, anything else for Connector?
I have nothing else for that. I think that song that is pretty much made by Jeff's guitar part that he plays on that, because everything else is pretty much locked in and moving straight ahead, and he's just put some kind of melody in there that would never have occurred to me,
right?
In his guitar part.
Yeah. I think the other, to say about Jeff, I've described it this way: is that we're like good foils for each other.
Yeah.
Meaning I can like play all the strings at once, and Jeff knows which strings to play at certain points in time. And then
it's very scientific of you. Yeah.
They fit together pretty well.
Yeah.
What did Jay Robbins said something about how he's like, you guys really have that 2 guitar thing down, which, you know, I take as a compliment. And
yeah.
But it's, I don't know. I am glad he's bringing what he is and is such a good foil.
Yeah. It seems very natural too. Even again, as being the one guy I was like less familiar with when I saw you guys play. I was like, oh no, they're all. It isn't like these three guys and this other dude's there too. It's like these are these four guys doing this thing.
The other thing about Jeff is it's not like he'll sit around and study on it and work on it and work. That part will have been within like 2 minutes of him hearing the song, and it won't change.
Just has it immediately.
He just comes. Am I wrong? I mean, just about almost all of his guitar parts were there. I'm always wanting things to keep developing and breathing, and he's like, okay, what's the second part? What's the second?
He's got it in one.
Let's go here. Let's go. Like he's dialed in pretty much all the time, and I'm sometimes trying to undial him a little bit.
Can we crank that dial back a touch, please? Yeah.
But he's pretty much always right about where he thinks stuff should go.
See, in the clip, he'll just cut out that last bit. He's pretty much always right. Will be the clip. John, anything for lyrics or anything on this, or anything we didn't cover?
So definitely talking about your infrastructure. Couple nods in there. One to Wilmette, and then DeKalb is referenced.
Which is where John and I started.
Yeah, that was the way back when in the mid '80s. Yeah, there's something in there about, I don't know, the echoes of the greats, which I was thinking about people who inspired me, and still do. And and then the irony of what is never finished will never be done. Is that in there?
Yes.
Tim mentioned the concept part.
There isn't like a character requirement. I mean, like it's whatever. There's no wrong answers, man.
Part of the concept, I think. I mean, and there is one, but also sort of like, I mean, intentionally repeating some lyrics from song to song, which and as we were writing this stuff, I feel like a lot of it was like the songs starts here and goes to here. Like it's not like you like go on some trip and go back to where you started. It's like it's this destination. It's like we're gonna take you from here to here and then get off. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I think of the songs, and it's a little different than it not resolving.
Right.
And it's not quite like transporting you in a woo-woo sense, but I kind of feel like, and then we get to the end and then we stop because that's as far as it goes,
Right. It's like when you take that bus, you get there, man.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we all have in common musically is we've, and I think most people who develop a musical personality or like this, you stop thinking about repeating yourself, whether it's lyrics or musically or whatever. You just do it, and I never think about, have I done this before, or if I'm writing things, or it's just, that's not part of my thing. I'm not trying to break new ground. I'm not trying to, I will push myself sometimes, but do the same thing over and over again sometimes. Yeah. And, like Neil Young said about the Cinnamon Girls solo, they all sound like different notes to him. We're all playing at different times. Like, how could they possibly be the same note?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Mike, why don't you kick us off for Absolute Zero? What are some thoughts about this tune?
Absolute Zero, Absolute Wipers.
That's fair.
Banger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a quick one. And I don't know if we said, let's write a song that sounds like a Wiper song, or hey, this kind of sounds like a Wipers thing. Let's go all in. I tried to Sageify my vocals. I don't think I got there.
They have that plug-in, I think, don't they? The Sageifier? Yeah.
Probably.
I've heard a few bands that definitely use it.
Yeah.
He invented it himself.
Exactly. He built it himself, right?
It's all true.
Yeah, not so much about infrastructure, although it's kind of a, I mean, dying in space or being left in space, and also a bit about relationships in that one as well.
Yeah, you've got Sage's obsession with outer space.
That's true.
Literal aliens and so forth.
And I think at the time I was watching that miniseries, not on Paramount Plus, sorry, Conan, but
our sponsor, yes.
Yeah, on Apple Plus.
Right.
Producer of telephones and
streaming content.
Flat things.
Yeah.
What was the show, Tim, that Silkworm had a tune in?
Oh yeah, we were on that for like 2 seconds. For All Mankind.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, the Ronald Moore space show. Yeah. Like what if the Russians had won the space race?
Yeah.
That's right. I heard that and I thought that was awesome. That was not the only one in that show too. But I will say that I was deeply invested in the show and I was like, oh wait. That's like it kind of took me out in a good way.
They would never be playing Garden City Blues in that bar in Texas.
It's an alternate universe, my friend. Maybe things ended up differently for you guys.
Yeah, the brass ring.
Exactly. You never know. That was a great show. Actually, I think it's still going.
It is. There's a new season. Yeah.
They again, no sponsors ever on this show. So anytime I make these, I hope people understand these are jokes. But there's a lot of good sci-fi on that thing. Whatever that thing is, there's a great Joel Edgerton, Jennifer Connelly show called Dark Matters that is.
And you've got a bouquet of sponsorships ready to be harvested.
Jennifer Connelly's in it?
She's in it. Yeah, it's great.
She's the greatest. Yeah.
She's awesome. She is the coolest for sure. All right, so that's absolute zero. Anything to add for that before we move on? For the Sage of Fire, we can turn the Sage of Fire on a little bit.
It gets fast sometimes.
It's a banger.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It gets fast except for the intro where I lost time for a minute or two.
There's a part.
But that's deliberate. That's Charlie Watts' influence. There.
I thought it was the aliens. You lost time.
No click track.
I deliberately pulled back way too much.
That's good.
And then
there's a later verse where we're all down picking, and sometimes if we start off fast, I just keep thinking about the third verse, and I'm like, all right, I gotta remember, I gotta get my pick down like this because we're going so fast. I'm gonna have to hit it with the edge of the pick a little bit so that I can manage it.
Yeah.
So I have to psych myself up for that part sometimes if it gets a little speedy.
Yeah, if you have a part that's exactly and it's fast and it's down picking, here we go, wrist workout.
Right,
that's a song. If I see that one next to Elysian Fields in the set list, then I have to put my foot down and say, right, that can't happen.
Yeah. Not in this man's army. Right.
Yeah.
Chapter verse overture. Anymore. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You go back in time and get younger Mike to go play that, and that'd be fine. Overture. John, you want to kick us off with that one?
Yeah. So lyrically, well, let's just say I'm a lapsed Catholic with a punk rock axe to grind. Not a whole lot more than that, maybe. Although there is a bit about the dystopian future. Present. What, as of yesterday? Anyways, and it hopefully is a warm song, that feels comfortable. I want it to be a warm friend, if that makes any sense. And with the way the instruments, I don't know, it got big, it sounded very big to me, almost, I don't know, I want to say orchestral, but not in a string sense, but just all of us together made something that isn't, each of us individually. And then for the kicker, getting Rachel Drew to put her vocals on it was really wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. That's a nice little treat on that one.
Yeah, I mean, so she adds a beauty to it that the song can handle, and I think is better for it.
Jeff and I both try to fake out her little bits at the end a little bit now, because they're kind of, I hear them at the end, and if they're not in there, I feel like it's not quite wrapped up. So
right,
there's some like flat seven stuff that she does in there that's a little jazzy sort of, and I started doing it, and then I noticed Jeff was doing it too. So we're both kind of trying to
filling in the blanks a little.
Yeah, simulate that a little bit. Yeah, it's not the
same. Three microphones up front. It's going to happen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sound guys get so bummed out when you ask for that too, and it's like, oh, come on. I was like, what? Really? Can you make do with two? Yes, we can make do with two, but can we get three?
Yeah.
We love sound guys.
That's our job.
It's like you're literally getting paid for this, right? Just checking. Tim, anything else to add for this one?
No, I like it. It has kind of a buoyant quality to it that's, I think, fairly unique among the songs that we've got right now. It's good. I like it a lot.
Mike, thoughts?
I love these guys. All three of them, they're playing on that song was just like the guitars. There's just a drone going through the whole song.
Yeah.
But they're on. If you listened to the guitar parts separately, you wouldn't necessarily put them together as the same song, except for the choruses.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tim has this little bass flourish that circles back to the verse every time. That's a really nice earworm. And it's really fun. It's a fun song to play on drums because I can just kind of go, what's that krautrock drum word again?
Motoric. Yeah.
Motoric. It's a little bit motoric.
A little motoric, yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking when I play it right.
Just a dash of krautrock, sure.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about when you get it wrong?
I'm changing it too much while I'm playing it. Stop changing it. Dumbass. Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't
play
go change
it. Just let it ride.
I think about Hobart from Can every time we play it, actually, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
I'm just doing this alternating octave thing and trying not to get in the way for most of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that.
Very Holger.
It's got that vibe for sure in a good way.
I did not know that.
Now you do.
Well, everyone's learning a little something.
That's why I show up at these.
So you can turn around and say, "Rein it in." If I change it even slightly.
South Branch, Tim, what do you think about this one?
This song's super fun to play because my part's really busy, so I get to just like this one. I don't usually admit to doing this much, but I always think about John Entwistle when I play bass on the song, and I'm just trying to do like my version of a Who thing, which is clumsier and stuff, of course. But I think I really like the fact that the verse is kind of like. One time I was talking to someone about this band, the Tree People in Seattle, and they were relaying something Steve Fisk had said about them.
Yeah.
Who recorded a bunch of those records. Steve is an engineer.
He's been on the show before. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he was talking about, he's like, those Chinese acrobats, you go see them and they like jump and they spin and then they all kind of meet up in the middle at the end. And he's like, Tree People are like that, only they never meet up. They just go. So I think the verse is kind of like that, but then we do meet up again on this big, super monolithic, chorus part. I'm using quotes because it's just gong, gong, gong the whole time. And I think that's really rad, It has this weird spinning, kind of broken merry-go-round quality to it, and then it just goes chonk, chonk, and kind of spanks.
It's totally, Yeah, the drums and bass on the song, it's just like a drunken calliope.
Yeah.
And actually, when there's that part in the middle where John and Jeff almost stop playing, except they're playing discordant notes that aren't the same as each other, and the bass drops down. It's just like the most fucked up part of the record, and it's also my favorite part of the record.
There's a little bass solo that's like super gank sounding. Yeah.
There's something I feel like with the chorus, we tried to do something that was so brilliant and yet stupid. I don't know if we achieved it.
Right.
I mean, that's a high bar, actually, to me. But just like, and Mike was talking about this with the drumming, like and this is maybe a vestige of TAR, like it takes a lot to do, like to play a little, you know, and just like, But,
yeah, it's minimalism, right? It's like you have to, yeah.
And after I don't know what the fuck it is of the verse. I mean, it strikes me as like almost like a psychedelia kind of thing, you know, which I never said about anything I've ever made a sound of, but like I like it a lot. And a little infrastructure nod. I mean, right, the South Branch is the part that turned around, I believe.
Send all the sewage back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, STL. And all the farmers and everyone along the way.
Thank you, Army Corps of Engineering, for sending our shit to St. Louis for us, because we didn't want it in the lake.
You don't like poop in your river? Come to Chicago. Yeah. We figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. Send it somewhere else. Works great. Just like you pull a big Dave Matthews Band, just dump it off the tour bus.
I know they're still around because they played at Alpine Valley, which I did not know was still around. But like that's going to be their epitaph, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
like,
it's
crappy band craps on sightseers. Like,
yeah. It's like if you get mauled by a gorilla in the gorilla cage or something. It doesn't matter what. You could be the prize-winning physicist. Doesn't matter. You're that's an idiot that got mauled by the gorilla. You know, you're always going to be the band that dumped, you know, however many gallons worth of fecal matter.
Yeah, I don't
your tour bus.
Mean to say anything bad about them, but
I will.
That's what happened, right?
It's okay.
Yeah, by all accounts, they're lovely people. I don't know. Too bad about the music. Anyway,
I mean, that's like, I don't know. Did they ever own it and say, "Yeah, we did that. We're sorry," and like write a
I think.
Like a $500 check to Friends of the River or something.
I think it was more than that.
Yeah.
They were mortified by all accounts.
Yeah, wouldn't you? I mean, that would be like, what? That's a Spinal Tap moment. That's a straight up Spinal Tap moment.
It doesn't take that even anywhere near that much to mortify me. So, I don't like my drum intro on the one song. So,
yeah,
there you go.
There are times when Mike will not shake my hand. I'm like, I washed it, I think.
What?
We got a lot going on. I can't remember.
We had a lot going on. That's a great excuse. There was a lot going on. Look, it was a fog of war, man. I don't know.
That's going to be the next album title. We had a lot going on.
Oh no, I think it's something else.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Any?
Don't want to spill any beans.
John, anything else to add onto that one?
No.
Okay. We got The Grid up next.
Yeah.
I think this would be Mike going first on this one. Mike,
Shit. I'm astonished that nobody who's reviewed it so far has put together what the deal is with the streets John's calling out in that song.
I saw one the other day that mentioned it.
They mention it, but did they say what the point of those streets are versus other streets?
No, they do not.
They all have something in common.
Oh, interesting.
Let's just leave it there. We'll just let the audience puzzle over that shit.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious. That's it. So,
It's a cartography thing.
okay. All right. Yeah. We got Archer is the first one, right? Is it? What is that? Okay. Well, you know what? We'll let the audience figure it out. What do they win if they figure it out, and who do they report to?
I don't know. It's Archer, Lincoln, Milwaukee,
Clark Street.
Yeah, Clybourne.
Yeah. Yeah, Archer's the
Clybourne
only
is
one that
like
gets a nod from the south side.
And it's different. It's different the second time, right? So it's Archer,
Yeah.
Ogden, Milwaukee, Clark Street
Yeah.
the second time. And it's Archer, Elston, Clybourne, and Lincoln the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wasn't clever enough to go from sort of north to south and around, but I thought about it.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the topic of permanence shows up again, or the from what Tim was saying, the
Should highlight these.
it's not a lie, but like I don't know, like I mean you see the grid and it's like they figured it out, but you know that didn't show up. That was in version 2.0 of Chicago, and still these other streets remained.
Yep.
And then the hubris is there too. Like I was always here, I was always there.
Cooper's a man. Tim, anything to add on that one?
Graham Lewis is the bass player I'm thinking about when I'm playing this song from
Hell yeah.
Wire. And I can't get fancy till the end, so I have to hold back because that's what he would do. He would not overdo it, and then he would only throw in the extra bits at the end to make it, expand it a little bit. So
It's hard to play that slow for me. Not after having said it's hard for me to play fast earlier in the conversation.
It's a different problem for this one.
I can't think of any song I've played that's except for maybe brief parts of TAR songs, and then I semi regret the cheesiness of going double time for the last verse, but I did it.
You sound like you're admitting to a crime.
No one knew until now.
I like playing that part of the song, but I do think it's cheesy every time I do it. So maybe that's good that way. I don't know.
I never once have thought that was sounded cheesy.
yeah,
Personally.
no complaints here.
And I know from Cheese, friend. I live in Wisconsin. Thank you.
Hey.
Well, I feel like that was the last song we wrote, but maybe South Branch was the last one we learned how to play.
I think that's true. Yeah, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Moving on, Gold Standard. John, tell us about this one.
Fuck yeah. Well, so Bretton Woods, right? So we got your monetary policy nod.
Right, as you must. It's the law.
A little, I don't know if it's hubris or nuttiness of taking a piss on Bob Dylan. These words are words that I enjoyed putting together versus words that make a lot of sense.
You got a big boy shout out in there. That's a good one.
Yeah, that part I am proud of. I love the big boys, and I don't know. I mean, I think some of the juxtaposition, right? Like the big boys and Nina Simone. And this is the same line. That's the Nina, right? I mean, Mississippi, goddamn. I don't know. It felt right to me. And I mean, there's little Easter eggs, like, and maybe that's one, right? Start your own band, which was what they always used to say.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that was sort of the spirit of going into the Deep Tunnel project, was just start your own thing and just see what happens.
Always good to see the usage of the word transom in a serious rock song too. I think it's an underutilized term.
Yeah, I will not be embarrassed by my vocabulary.
Nor should you be.
I might be embarrassed by the things I say, which is different.
Well, that's a different problem entirely. Tim, anything to add on that?
Rick did the guitars, and Rick Rizzo did the guitars and overdub his lead bit, and we recorded that at my house, and it took about 10 minutes. and it was cool. He just did it again. It was one of those things where, you know, I feel like we're playing music that's definitively in our respective wheelhouses, not by design, just because that's how you just naturally do stuff. It was the same thing for him, really. He came in and he just seemed utterly at home with this thing, and he just like blasted out a couple of takes, and that was it. So that was fun to do that. But I think it's a great song. It's a stomper. The lyrics, I think, are very... I think John's underselling them a little bit, and maybe that's because he didn't intend for it to be about what I think it's about. I think it's a very complex song about music, about like we were talking about earlier, about this bifurcation between pop music and what's real, and sometimes they're the same thing with Bob Dylan or Buddy Holly or whatever, or even Nina Simone. But even there, you're getting into someone who's, you know, a bit like less of a commercial artist. And then you go all the way to the other side of things, and there's the big boys and whoever else. But there's a through line through all that, right, of authenticity and immediacy, and I think the song has that too, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like, as a pull quote, I like Nina Simone as much as the big boys.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're both as valid and worthy in my musical, I don't know, whatever it is, library in my head.
Melange.
I really like the stomping riff. I mean, it's and I love riff songs, and it's a good one. It's a really good one. But it's kind of a, you know, with an acoustic guitar or whatever, it's just like a little bluesy thing. But, you know, at 100 decibels, it can become something else.
It's a loud bluesy thing.
Yes, a loud, big bluesy thing.
I told John it reminded me of Canned Heat after we played it the first couple times.
Canned Heat.
Which
Wow.
I think he took as a compliment.
Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment. Those guys had a great feel.
I loved Canned Heat, yeah.
I mean, I hope this, I said this about chapter verse, but like, I hope the record, I don't know, has like a warm, familiar sense, and not like, oh, I know Mike's, you know, hitting the bell on his right cymbal anywhere, or John Moore's voice, but like, oh, this feels like some combination of a lot of things that, and hopefully not like, oh, I know who they're ripping off, but like, this feels familiar, like I don't know, like a friend coming back to visit.
People are making way too much out of the TAR thing, I think. I mean, you would do that because it's John and I playing, but
you guys were in TAR.
There's none of this would have sounded like this if it was just John and I left to our own devices, I don't think. But I went back to this song. I remember John bringing this riff in, and it was pretty much like the way it is from the first time we tried it. But it was a son of a bitch getting the structure, how it made sense, because some of the changes weren't normal where we would normally put them.
And for the first, I think, 4 or 5 times we played it live, a different person would fuck it up egregiously every single time. Like one time, I got to this little doodle thing that I play, and I don't know what I did to try to salvage it, but I went like and then just jump to the next part, you know.
Right.
And it was almost like an in joke where someone would count wrong every single time, you know.
And it's I think this song is kind of unique in that I don't think we counted anymore, but for a while it's like none of the verses are the same length, and the first few choruses are like one of them. There's like a short one, then there's a double one, and then we like double up the double thing at the end. It was just, we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't the same person every
I mean,
time, though. At least it was a different person screwing it up.
Inappropriately clever, and Michael
Yeah.
Tim were being nice because it was me that kept fucking it up.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Or maybe
You
they're
were-
not nice, but at
Yours
least-
stand out more because you're singing.
Yeah.
If it's more than one person, then you can use passive voice. And you can just say mistakes were made. So like, mistakes were made.
Yeah.
We can't. Nobody. History doesn't even remember who made them.
No.
Probably not Jeff, but
Yeah.
No.
I definitely. Yeah,
That dude's a runner.
Jeff's a pro.
Yeah.
When I Hit the Ground is the next song, and I think Tim, you're kicking this one off.
Yeah, this is the most kind of ruminative, kind of overtly downer song on the entire record, I think. So it's probably in about the right spot, right? You're supposed to put that shit in the middle of the record. But
Exactly.
bring people down into the valley, and then they're down in the fucking valley for like 3 minutes and 28 seconds. And then they come back up out of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the bummer is in between two bangers, that's for sure.
Yeah. So it's a song about mortality. It's a song about I think it John could speak more to this than me about enduring things. And I think it's very, is artfully the right word? Maybe put together in that there's relatively basic structure, but it sounds sort of elliptical, and I'm not sure to your ear that it registers as being repetitive. You know what I mean? It kind of has this weird looping quality to it that I really like a lot. And it feels, when you play it, it feels longer than it is. I mean, it is only 3.5 minutes long. Not because you're like, when's this fucking song gonna be over? but more like you get lost in it a little bit when you play it. At least I do. Yeah.
I agree. I think the arrangement of this one is definitely more dynamics, and I really like. There's a bridge John came up with in the middle that's just kind of a left turn where the mood kind of changes and it gets a little tighter on the guitar playing, and it goes into an exploding part right from there. That just one of my favorite parts of the album is the entire arrangement of the song and the way that we were able to. We got the dynamics right, I think, when we recorded it, for sure.
It's important.
Yeah.
It can live and die based on that.
There's really didn't. I don't know if we decided not to or not or whatever, but there's almost there were any overdubs on this record. Maybe some acoustic guitar, right? And
Rick was on the acoustic stuff.
Yeah, and Jeff did one thing. I can't remember what song, but I mean, it was all mostly live.
Jeff, we should also say that that guitar thing he plays at the end of the song is, I don't even know how he came up with that. That's just the lamenting, like crying guitar part.
Oh, right.
At the end of the song. And it's not, whatever notes he's picking are not in the chords of the song, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it just kind of
is
exactly what is needed right there when he did it. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Some wailing and the gnashing of rending in garments.
Yeah.
It's a dark song. I mean, sometimes you get to choose the way you die, sometimes you don't, but everyone ends up in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sirens and planes falling out of the sky. I don't know. How was your pandemic?
I unsuccessfully tried to grow out some facial hair and my hair. Both look terrible.
Yeah.
Did a lot of episodes of this show.
I had to get the clippers in high gear to.
Never did learn how to bake bread. You know, everyone seemed to be doing that for a minute. Yeah. Don't regret it. No regrets. No. Elysian Fields, right? It's Elysian is how you pronounce that word?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I'll take your word for it. This, I think, Mike, I think this one's yours.
I always think of Hoboken and the birth of baseball a little bit. when I think of Elysian Fields. I don't know if that was the point of that or not, but this song to me is also just classic Chicago punk rock nod.
Yeah.
Not in every part of the song, but definitely the way I'm playing. I'm thinking like, I'm thinking Jim Caleo and Effigies, and
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm just thinking I'm plowing through this fucking guy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I remember at least parts of this writing or working on by myself with an electric guitar, and like the chorus was more of a howl than a woe. So was that visceral? Is that the word?
Yeah, yeah.
Ever
pertaining to Viscera? Yeah.
Very good. And then, the Jeff Pizzotti Easter egg is on full display in this one, although I don't know if an Easter egg because it's pretty obvious. The whoa-who's in the chorus.
Yeah, it was.
Or is it a chorus?
Homaging. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And how many times we say "hey" denoted in the lyric sheet. Total Naked Raygun lyric sheet nod. Love it.
Yeah. That's another nod. God, what is that song? Metastasis?
Metastasis, hey, 17 times in parentheses.
Yeah, I think ours is just 4x, but
yeah.
That was a metastasis nod.
Well, and you had to do that sometimes just because, hey, you want to all fit on one piece of paper, this is how many times you do it. Okay, all right, yeah. But you don't want to do 16 and then I missed one, So
tremendously hard to play the outro of that song for me, but I love getting through it every time and if I got through it, I love it.
I feel good about it.
I hope. I don't know. Elysian Fields as a counter to When I Hit the Ground is a pretty happy song with hopefully
right.
Someone's Elysian Fields is a happy place. I think it's
a vibe up.
That's the intent of. I need to research it, but I had an idea that that's what Elysian Fields were.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be, suggest like inspiration or celebration that's godlike, right? It's supposed to be like divine or glorious.
Yes, the final resting place of the souls of the heroic and virtuous in Greek mythology and religion.
That's right.
Where did I get the baseball thing? I just invented that myself.
Well, for some, that's their field.
Yeah,
as close as it gets for some people. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to do my own research right now.
Do my own research. Listen to a guy on YouTube.
Happiness at the end of the earth on the banks of Oceanus. Am I saying that correctly?
Probably not.
Yeah. Under the layers of my vocabulary lives a 13-year-old boy.
Yes. This is known. Tim, anything to add for Elysian Fields?
Not really. I think we covered it.
Cool. Let's move on to Sweetest Bells. John, you want to kick us off for discussion on this guy?
Yeah. I think I think I'm saying a lot of things in the lyrics that I'd rather not say directly, but I'm happy to still be here. And I think the other thing, it's somewhat similar to When I Hit the Ground, just like during pandemic times, like when there was no traffic and it was just really quiet, like the church bells, at least here in the mean streets of Evanston, there's a lot of churches, and like you would hear the bells from time to time. And so it was like, is that a good thing? Like, you ring the bells when the pitchforks and torches are coming, or you ring them when it's, baby Jesus' birthday or whatever. Could be either. So it's nice to hear.
Tim?
And then the other thing I remember is sort of I'll call it descending riff, was I like the droney, chimey part of that, which feels a little different. I mean, I know it could be played just in bar chords, but I don't play it that way.
All right, Tim, you had any thoughts on?
I
almost said sweetest balls.
Oh no, we call it Swedish.
Oh,
balls.
there you go. Get the
That's
working
what
title there. Yeah,
Swedish
Well,
balls.
That's what we call it internally. Yes. Swedish balls has that's Mike Watt. I'm just thinking about Mike Watt while I'm playing that bass player.
Oh sure, yeah.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
that I always think of like that. It's like a swinging like southern rock, almost boogie feel to it. The way they're playing the drums on that song, and that's what I think of with the bass and the drums is.
Yeah, it's like
It has that lilt. Yeah,
it's like a little bit of a Minuteman funk boogie type thing.
And then an AC/DC chorus.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's got some radical pick drags in it.
And the Fugazi part.
And the Fugazi bit, the duck ducks.
Is that the official term? Oh no, I knew it in one. Yeah, no, I knew exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Nice.
Got that from our late friend Steve. Used to call them duck ducks on a tar song. So that's what became part of the vernacular.
Exactly. As well they should. Dry Spell is next up. It's Tim, I think you're kicking this one off.
Yeah, I love that song a lot. It's fairly complex musically, and there's a lot of stuff going on in that. It kind of is this weird. There's nothing else like it on the record for sure, and it's this interesting mishmash of stuff without trying to make it that. It just sort of evolved into this thing, and it's a little crazy horsey. It's a little, for me, New Ordery. The chorus thing is just straight New Order type bass playing, and then I don't know what it is exactly at the end of it. It has this odd sort of, it's almost like a Jamaican sound to it. There's almost like this weird like dub thing at the end. I think me and Mike lock into this thing, and it's very. If you stripped it down to just the bass and drums, it would sound like a rhythm track for one of those records.
And really, it's really cyclical at the end because you're running the bass line through the beginning of the riff again. The bass line doesn't resolve again until it's already repeating for the guitars, but the bass is still kind of finishing up.
Yeah,
the next.
Everything's on a different kind of cycle at the end until the very last note, which it's just a stylistic thing that I think fit the song and fit the fact that it's so kind of it's continually morphing all the way through the whole song. So to play the same thing over and over again at the end would have kind of ruined it, I think. It's cool. It's just one of those. You would never plan out a song to be like that, I don't think.
Right.
Conceptually, it has to come out of playing it, for it to turn out that way.
And there's a couple jokes there. One is, what do you call someone who hasn't written a song in 28 years? Like, is that a dry spell? But it, could also be about relationships or the lack of relationships, or relationships ending. To me, it's the last song on the record, and what is never finished will never be done. To be the line on the last song, it kind of wraps it up, but is also funny to me because then it's done.
That it is actually done, yeah.
But not quite.
Yeah. I guess if it was still the CD era, you could have the Break and Circus song as a secret track with 72 minutes of silence.
I think when it got mastered, it's slightly longer, like 6 seconds instead of 3 or something.
Right.
Or whatever. It's like a pause, a breath.
Give it a little more time to breathe, yeah.
Yeah. And then hammering, which we learned actually so that we could play that up at Caterwall.
Yeah, because of one of the great Minneapolis bands, Breaking Circus. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I thought that might be the case.
And then it turned out to be a banger.
Yeah, it sounded good.
I think it was one of those classic things where you're goofing around, you record a cover. This happened in the Worm before too with Ooh La La, that was on one of our records. And you're goofing around and you record it, and then you're like, well, that turned out great.
Yeah, that's really good.
So I guess it has to be on the record now. Like, there's no getting around it. Like,
yeah.
What are you going to do? Take that and then just like deep six it and not have it on the record? I think it's a great version of the song. I think we deserve credit for being able to keep up with the original and embellish it a little bit, you know. And it still sounds like us, I think. It's not some kind of weird slavish homage. I couldn't do the Todd vocal. Because,
yeah, you're very different singers.
Well, I could have tried, but it would have. You're never going to get there. Like, you haven't smoked enough cigarettes.
I was kind of emboldened with the sagifying, so I tried to Bjorklandize on my bits. I don't know if I got there, but yeah, that's a great song, and they were a great band. And I mean, honestly, like, I don't know, if I knew how bands and records and stuff worked, I'd say, oh, let's save this for something. But like, I don't know, let's put it out, and we can always write and record more stuff. So, So there it is.
I mean, we know that the album ends after Dry Spell, so
like I said, it's a secret.
Doesn't matter if anybody else does.
It's an open secret. You could put it in invisible ink on the Bandcamp, and then you could, if it's lemon juice, they could hold it up to the light. Remember when they would used to do that, and you could see the secret writing.
Or we could have trained and veined it and just not put it on the credits.
About that.
But
yeah,
wasn't that because they just like it got put on too late? Like they already had done the artwork, and like we ain't changing it.
Someone knows the answer to this.
It was probably I don't remember the time frame. Maybe it hit as a single, so the record company said it's going on the album, so we can put a sticker on it. But I don't know.
You should know this, but if I do know it, I don't know it right now.
It's the best song on that album.
Yeah,
it's my
I'm putting the question in the chat.
And I'm not even that much of a Clash person at all.
So there you go.
Chat.
That's the Deep Tunnel Project, the record by Deep Tunnel Project, the band. Is it so? There's no definite article on the record. There's no It's just Deep Tunnel Project.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what my shirt says. I think my shirt just says Deep Tunnel Project.
Yeah. No the.
Okay. Is that like a bone of contention?
No, I think it's just grammatically correct.
Is that a bone splinter of contention?
I mean, this ain't no Oxford comma.
Fair enough.
No
the. So people can go to, if they don't already have it, of course, go to Deep Tunnel Project, bandcamp.com. Also Comedy -1. Get it anywhere you get
stores.
Your records in this day and age. Support your local.
Yeah, or hit us up at a show. We'll be playing at the PRF Barbecue in July.
Fantastic.
I think on the 20th.
Yeah, any other stuff coming up for DTP, as I'm sure someone will eventually call you?
I've heard about some stickers.
You've heard about them. Okay.
I talked about that, and then I promptly spent 2 of the next 3 weeks in New Jersey, not doing anything but
where there are no
family stuff. So that
was a wild story. I didn't expect them any twists and turns about it.
I started thinking about stickers again today. I'm like, oh yeah, stickers. I should get those made for the barbecue.
Stickers are good. I'll put one on my guitar case, as I have many before them.
So I'm
They're
sure
gonna look like the T-shirts, not the one like the newer T-shirts.
Yeah, not the classic.
The now classic.
The one that have the fucking tunnel on them.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
That was a weird story that I found a picture online of it that I liked of the Deep Tunnel Project, and so I designed a T-shirt out of it. And then I'm like, we should probably get permission for that picture. And the guy turns out to be like a friend of a friend,
Oh, cool.
You know,
That's
about
awesome.
the band and stuff.
Actually, not a friend of a friend, but a friend of Ben Adrian.
Oh,
Friend
really?
of Ben Adrian, yeah.
There you go.
Right, you're
a very good friend.
Your bandmate.
My bandmate for almost 10 years. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so that worked out. I mean, I literally pulled the photo out of Slate, out of their website, and I'm like, well, this guy's a pro photographer. I don't think we can just throw his image on a T-shirt.
Yeah, they usually would get mad about that.
Not that I would want to do that for anybody, and I wouldn't, But
Sure. No, not that that would ever happen for a flyer, maybe, whatever.
Yeah.
Certainly not by me.
Yeah. And if anyone's interested in having us play shows, get in touch with us, because apparently we're really bad at finding shows to play.
Booking shows sucks.
I was interested in that at one point, but anyway, well, that's a different story.
We gotta.
So Milwaukee, for example.
Right.
I don't know, the Cactus Club or
playing shows, fun. Booking shows, blows.
Cactus Club's like, oh my god, it's like I feel like they're booking like 2026 right now. It's crazy, but we can talk.
That's the other thing. If you want to leave town and go do something, you have to book it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing in 6 months. I don't.
No idea.
Crazy. It's
crazy
out there, boys. Exactly.
Yeah, so we're writing songs, trying to play shows, living our lives, and I don't know what else. coveting instruments that we wish we owned.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why not?
Like your guitar, Conan.
It's pretty good. It's looking pretty beat up these days, but hey, so's the player.
I've done the math most of the time. I don't think you're actually using it, so.
Just from an aggregate, you're probably right. I mean, it's very important when I am using it. But yeah, if you could get some, like, you thinking like guitar timeshares. What are you thinking about? Like, what is?
Yeah.
Where's that guitar? Guitarer?
Like
that could be the
white elephant of guitars. Like everyone has a community, and like
now switch,
and then you get to enjoy someone else's guitar for a while.
That's right. I have
what could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. What could go wrong?
I broke your guitar. Sorry. Here.
No, you can't have that one back. I like it.
I actually have that Flying V bass that Tony bought in Chicago when we just played. I gotta get back to him, but yeah, it's like, oh, I guess I gotta leave this with you. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll see you soon enough. It's fine, but yeah, sounds great. I played it more than he has at this point.
What's it doing these days?
It's hanging on the wall. It's waiting for guitar to someone to pick it. Swipe left. I don't know any. What's a lexicon? What do they do in the dating apps? Right? They swipe. That's anyway. Whatever. This bit is dead as a door now. Anyway, Deep Tunnel Project. Name of the band. Name of the record. Thank you, fellas, so much for doing it. I think it's a great record. I hope people, if they haven't already, check it out. And I hope if they have checked it out, that they got some context and some epiphanies from this particular episode. Always a pleasure to have you on. Anything else before we go?
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Should have happened a long time ago. My bad. I'm going to fire my producer.
Yeah. There's an IRS audit coming your way.
Don't get me started on that guy.
Yeah, I know. What a dick. All right, fellas. Take care.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Good to see you.
Bye.
See ya.
There they go. The Deep Tunnel Project. You can find that on your greater Bandcamps or things that are not Bandcamp, where they won't see a dime from it. And Comedy -1 records, all that good stuff. Let's hear a song from the record. We're going to do Chapter Verse Overture.
with alacrity.
All right. There you go. It's three of the fellows from Deep Tunnel Project talking about their record, also called Deep Tunnel Project. And the name of that song was Chapter Verse Overture. So hope you guys enjoy that. That's a talented group of fellas. Go pick up that record if you haven't already. Name of this show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you so very much for listening to it. The show airs Thursdays, usually 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Streaming live, YouTube, on Twitch, podcast leader everywhere. No ads, no sponsors, not even Paramount Plus. No kidding. But if you like the show and you want to get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/Protonic Reversal achieves that goal and helps support the show. And thank you for those that do that. If you do like the show, feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it along on the internets where everybody lives.
Signing off.
Oh, that's very helpful. It helps people discover the show. Leaving a review, even, as silly as that sounds. What else? Oh, Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends with God Bullies in October sometime in Detroit. I can remember about those shows. Bunch of good stuff coming.
50,000 watts of power.
Stay tuned. Gonna make some announcements after the 4th of July holiday.
I want to ionize the air.
anything else? No, I guess that's probably it. Just thank you for listening. Thanks for engaging with it. Subscribe if you don't already. That helps too. Stay safe out there.
Can you hear me now?
I'll check you later.
Out on Route 128, in the dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on Earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive. It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, radio. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? emergency.